Welcome back to Crowned Black Heroes, where we uncover the stories of brilliance and courage that changed America forever. Today, I'm going to tell you about a woman who was born to a formerly enslaved mother in 1864, right in the middle of the Civil War. A woman who grew up so poor that she had to work as a child doing laundry just to help her family survive. A woman who watched her stepfather get murdered when she was just a teenager and had to become the family breadwinner. A woman who lived in the Jim Crow South, where black people faced discrimination at every turn, where they were denied opportunities, where the entire system was designed to keep them poor and powerless. And this woman, despite all of those obstacles, despite starting with absolutely nothing, became the first woman in American history to found and serve as president of a bank. Not the first black woman, the first woman, period, of any race. She broke through barriers of race and gender, simultaneously, creating an institution that provided financial services to black families who were systematically excluded from white banks. She became a millionaire, a civil rights activist, and one of the most powerful and respected women in America. Her name was Maggie Lena Walker, and if you've never heard of her, that's because history deliberately erased her story. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because we bring you these powerful untold stories every single week. And if this story inspires you, if it makes you want to celebrate this incredible woman's achievements, smash that like button and drop a comment. Now, let me tell you about Maggie Lena Walker, the woman who went from a laundry basket to a bank president's desk. We begin on July 15, 1864, in Richmond, Virginia, the capital of the Confederacy. The Civil War is still raging. Richmond is under siege by Union forces. The city is filled with wounded Confederate soldiers, with shortages of food and supplies, with the chaos and violence of a losing war. And in the midst of all this, a baby girl is born. Her name is Maggie Lena Draper. Maggie's mother is Elizabeth Draper, a formerly enslaved woman who had been freed before the war. Elizabeth works as a laundrywoman, one of the few jobs available to black women in Richmond. The work is backbreaking, standing over hot water and lye soap for hours, scrubbing clothes by hand, ironing with heavy flat irons, heated on stoves. It's work that destroys hands and backs, work that pays almost nothing, work that offers no security or future, but it's survival. Maggie's father is Eccles Cuthbert, a white man who was Elizabeth's employer. The exact nature of their relationship is unclear from historical records, but Maggie is born with light skin, indicating mixed racial heritage. In 1864 Virginia, a child born to a black mother is considered black, regardless of who the father is. Maggie will grow up in the black community, will face all the discrimination and barriers that black Americans face, even though she has a white father. When Maggie is still very young, Elizabeth marries William Mitchell, a formerly enslaved man who becomes Maggie's stepfather. William works as a butler for a prominent white family. Together, Elizabeth and William provide a modest but loving home for Maggie and her brother. They emphasize education, believing that learning is the key to opportunity. Maggie attends newly established schools for black children in Richmond. These schools are segregated, underfunded, taught in whatever buildings the black community can afford or cobble together. But they exist, and Maggie takes full advantage. She's an exceptional student, hungry for knowledge, excelling in every subject. But tragedy strikes when Maggie is just 12 years old. Her stepfather William Mitchell is found dead under mysterious circumstances. The official report says it was an accident, but many in the black community believe William was murdered, possibly by white men angry about something related to his work or his presence in spaces usually reserved for whites. No serious investigation is conducted. William's death is simply recorded and forgotten by white authorities. But for Maggie's family, William's death is catastrophic. He was the primary breadwinner. Elizabeth's laundry work alone cannot support the family. At 12 years old, Maggie has to go to work. She helps her mother with the laundry, spending hours after school and on weekends washing and ironing clothes. She sees firsthand the brutal reality of her mother's work, the physical toll it takes, the poverty wages it pays. And Maggie makes a decision that will shape her entire life. She is going to find a way out of poverty, not just for herself, but for her entire community. Maggie continues her education even while working. She graduates from the newly formed Armstrong Normal School, one of the first high schools for black students in Richmond. After graduation, she becomes a teacher, one of the few professional occupations available to educated black women. Teaching pays slightly better than laundry work and offers more dignity and respect. But Maggie quickly realizes that teaching alone won't solve the systemic problems facing the black community. Black people need economic power. They need businesses, banks, insurance companies, institutions that can build and preserve wealth. In 1886, at age 22, Maggie joins an organization called the Independent Order of St. Luke. The Order of St. Luke is a fraternal organization, similar to the many mutual aid societies that black communities created during this era. These organizations provided what white institutions would not: insurance, burial funds, sick benefits, community support. Members paid small dues, and the organization would help them in times of crisis. When Maggie joins the Order of St. Luke is small and struggling, barely surviving financially, but Maggie sees its potential. Over the next 15 years, Maggie rises through the ranks of the Order of St. Luke. She's brilliant at organization, at fundraising, at inspiring people. She has a vision for what the organization could become. In 1903, at age 39, Maggie is elected the Right Worthy Grand Secretary of the Order of St. Luke, essentially the executive director and leader of the entire organization. This is unprecedented. Fraternal organizations are typically led by men, but Maggie's abilities are so obvious, her vision so compelling, that she's elected despite the barriers of gender. And once in leadership, Maggie transforms the organization. When Maggie takes over the Order of St. Luke has about 3,000 members and is barely solvent. Within a few years under her leadership, it will have over 100,000 members across 24 states. Maggie expands the insurance and benefit programs, making them more comprehensive and reliable. She starts a newspaper, the St. Luke Herald, which becomes one of the most widely circulated black newspapers in the South. The newspaper not only reports news, but also educates the black community about financial matters, about their rights, about opportunities for advancement. But Maggie's most revolutionary idea is still to come. She looks at the black community in Richmond and sees a fundamental problem: lack of access to capital. Black people work, they earn money, but they have nowhere safe to save it, and no access to loans to buy homes or start businesses. White banks either refuse to serve black customers or treat them with disrespect and discrimination, charging higher interest rates and denying loans that would be approved for white applicants with similar qualifications. Black wealth, what little exists, cannot be preserved or grown because there's no financial infrastructure to support it. So Maggie decides to create that infrastructure. She's going to start a bank. The idea is audacious. Starting a bank requires capital, requires regulatory approval, requires expertise that almost no one in the black community has because they've been excluded from the banking industry. And for a woman to start a bank, that's unheard of. In 1903, women of any race rarely hold positions of power in finance. Banking is an exclusively male domain, and the idea of a woman president of a bank is almost laughable to the white establishment. But Maggie is undeterred. She rallies the Order of St. Luke's members, convincing them to invest their savings in this new venture. She navigates the complex regulatory requirements, learning banking law and regulations that were written to exclude people like her. She assembles a team of advisors and board members, and on November 2nd, 1903, the St. Luke Penny Savings Bank opens its doors in Richmond, Virginia. Maggie Lena Walker, a black woman born to a formerly enslaved mother, the bank's president. She is the first woman of any race in American history to found and serve as president of a bank. Think about what this means. In 1903, women don't have the right to vote. In most states, married women can't own property in their own names. Women are considered intellectually inferior to men, incapable of handling complex business or financial matters, and black people are systematically excluded from virtually every position of economic power. Yet here is Maggie Lena Walker, shattering both racial and gender barriers simultaneously, running a financial institution. The St. Luke Penny Savings Bank is revolutionary not just because of who runs it, but because of what it does. The bank specifically serves the black community. It accepts small deposits, penny savings from laundry women and porters and janitors, people who would be turned away from white banks. It provides loans to black families, to buy homes, to black entrepreneurs to start businesses. It treats every customer with dignity and respect regardless of how much money they have. Maggie understands something fundamental about building community wealth. She understands that economic power requires institutions. Individual success is important, but without banks and insurance companies and investment firms owned by and serving the black community, wealth cannot be built and preserved across generations. Every dollar that a black person deposits in a white bank, and every loan that a black person pays interest onto a white bank is building white wealth, not black wealth. But if black people can deposit their money in black-owned banks and get loans from those banks, the money circulates within the community, multiplying its impact. This is the vision that Maggie is implementing, and it works. The St. Luke Penny Savings Bank thrives. Within a few years, it has hundreds of thousands of dollars in deposits. It's making hundreds of loans. It's providing financial security to black families who have never had access to banking services before. Maggie herself becomes quite wealthy. She invests wisely, owns property, lives in a beautiful house that is one of the finest homes in Richmond regardless of the owner's race. But Maggie never forgets her origins or her community. She uses her wealth and her platform to advocate for civil rights and for economic empowerment. Maggie is also instrumental in establishing a department store, the St. Luke Emporium, which provides goods to the black community and creates jobs. She's constantly looking for ways to build black economic infrastructure, to create opportunities, to prove that black people can succeed in business at the highest levels if given the chance. Maggie's success makes her a target. White supremacists resent her prominence and power. There are threats, intimidation attempts, efforts to undermine her bank through regulatory harassment. But Maggie persists. She has the respect of her community and increasingly of the white business establishment who cannot deny her competence and success, even if they resent her presence in their domain. In 1905, tragedy strikes again. Maggie's son Russell accidentally shoots and kills his father, Maggie's husband Armstead Walker, in a case of mistaken identity. Russell thought he heard an intruder and fired in the dark, not realizing it was his father. The incident is devastating for the family. Russell is tried for murder but acquitted when the court determines it was a tragic accident. But the emotional toll on Maggie is enormous. She loses her husband and nearly loses her son to prison. Yet even in the midst of personal tragedy, Maggie continues her work. In fact, she throws herself into her work even more intensely, perhaps as a way of coping with grief. Maggie is also a committed activist for women's rights and civil rights. She's a member of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, helping to establish the Richmond branch. She's active in the women's suffrage movement, though like many black suffragists, she finds that white suffragists often prioritize gender over race and are willing to exclude black women from their movement if it makes white Southern women more comfortable. Maggie navigates these complicated political waters with skill, advocating for both racial and gender equality. By the 1920s, Maggie Lena Walker is one of the most prominent black women in America. She's invited to speak across the country. She's profiled in magazines. She's recognized as a business leader and activist. The St. Luke Penny Savings Bank later merged with two other black-owned banks to become the Consolidated Bank and Trust Company, continues to serve the black community. Maggie remains involved with the bank, even as her health begins to decline. In her later years, Maggie uses a wheelchair to severe diabetes and other health issues. But she continues working, continues advocating, continues pushing for economic empowerment and civil rights. Maggie Lena Walker dies on December 15, 1934, at age 70. Her funeral is attended by thousands. She's mourned not just in Richmond, but across Black America as a pioneering businesswoman, a civil rights leader, and a symbol of what Black people and women can achieve when barriers are broken down. But then, like so many Black historical figures, Maggie is largely forgotten. Through the mid-20th century, her story is not taught in schools. History books discussing the women's movement and the civil rights movement don't mention her. When the history of American banking is discussed, Maggie's revolutionary achievement of being the first female bank president is ignored. This erasure is deliberate. Maggie's story complicates narratives that white America wants to maintain. If a Black woman could found and run a bank successfully in 1903, at the height of Jim Crow, what excuse is there for the exclusion of women and Black people from finance in later decades when legal barriers were supposedly lowered? Maggie's existence proves that the limitations placed on women and Black people were never about capability, but about systemic discrimination designed to preserve white male power. In 1975, Maggie's house in Richmond is designated a National Historic Site, the first site honoring a Black woman. This begins a slow process of recovering Maggie's story and giving her the recognition she deserves. Today, historians recognize Maggie Lena Walker as a pioneering businesswoman and civil rights leader, but she's still not a household name the way she should be. Most Americans, even many who are interested in history or women's rights or Black history, don't know who Maggie Lena Walker is. That's a tragedy because Maggie's story offers crucial lessons that are still relevant today. First, Maggie's life demonstrates the importance of economic power in achieving equality and dignity. Maggie understood that political rights, while important, are not sufficient if people lack economic resources. A person who can't get a loan to buy a home, who can't start a business, who can't save money safely, is not truly free regardless of their legal rights. Economic empowerment is essential to real equality. This is why Maggie focused on building institutions, banks, and businesses and newspapers that could create and preserve wealth in the Black community. Second, Maggie's success reveals the absurdity of both racism and sexism. In 1903, the dominant ideology held that women were intellectually incapable of business and that Black people were naturally inferior to whites. Yet Maggie, a Black woman, succeeded in one of the most complex and demanding fields, banking. She did this not through luck, but through intelligence, hard work, and strategic vision. Her success proves that the limitations placed on women and Black people were never about natural capability, but about power structures designed to exclude and oppress. Third, Maggie's story shows the importance of community-focused entrepreneurship. Maggie didn't become wealthy by exploiting her community. She became wealthy by serving her community, by creating institutions that addressed real needs. The St. Luke Penny Savings Bank wasn't just profitable for Maggie, it was transformative for thousands of Black families who finally had access to financial services. This model of success, where individual achievement and community uplift are intertwined, is powerful and ethical. Fourth, Maggie's life reminds us of the costs of discrimination, not just to individuals, but to society as a whole. How many other Maggie Lena Walkers were there? Women and Black people with extraordinary abilities who never got the chance to develop them because they were excluded from education, from business, from opportunities. When society systematically excludes entire groups based on race or gender, it's not just unjust to those individuals. It's a loss for everyone because potential talent and innovation are wasted. America could have had thousands more brilliant business leaders and innovators if women and Black people had been given equal opportunities. We'll never know what was lost because of discrimination. Fifth, Maggie's erasure from history demonstrates how historical narratives are constructed and who gets remembered. Maggie's achievements are well documented, She was famous in her lifetime. Newspapers covered her. She left extensive records. But for decades, historians chose not to include her in textbooks and popular histories. This wasn't an oversight. This was a choice, reflecting the biases of historians and educators who didn't think a black woman's achievements were important enough to teach. Recovering Maggie's story and the stories of other forgotten black heroes requires actively challenging the dominant narratives and insisting on a more complete and accurate telling of history. Before I close, I want you to imagine something. Imagine you're Maggie Lena Walker in 1903. You're a black woman in the Jim Crow South. You've experienced poverty, discrimination, and tragedy. You've been told your entire life, implicitly and explicitly, that you are inferior because of your race and your gender. You've seen your mother destroy her body doing laundry work for poverty wages. You've seen your stepfather murdered with no justice. You've watched your community struggle, unable to access the financial services they need to build better lives. And you decide, despite all of this, that you're going to start a bank. You're going to challenge every barrier, every prejudice, every system designed to keep you powerless. You're going to create an institution that serves your community and proves that black people and women are capable of anything. That's not just business acumen. That's revolutionary courage. That's refusing to accept the limitations that society tries to impose. That's changing the world through excellence and determination. Maggie Lena Walker didn't just break glass ceilings. She built institutions that lifted entire communities. She created pathways for others to follow. She proved that the barriers facing women and black people were constructed, not natural, and that they could be overcome. Her legacy is not just the bank she founded or the wealth she accumulated, but the example she set. That with vision, courage, and hard work, even the most marginalized people can achieve extraordinary things. If this story inspired you, if it made you want to learn more about Maggie Lena Walker and other black pioneers who changed America, then I need you to act right now. Hit that like button to help this story reach more people. Subscribe to Crowned Black Heroes and turn on notifications, because every week we bring you these powerful stories of black excellence that history forgot. And drop a comment below. Tell me what you think. Had you heard of Maggie Lena Walker before watching this? What other black business pioneers do you want to learn about? How do we make sure these stories are taught in schools? Share this video everywhere. Make sure Maggie Lena Walker's name is known. Make sure this incredible woman's achievements are recognized and celebrated. Make sure young black girls and all young people know that they can achieve anything, that barriers can be broken, that excellence and determination can overcome even the most unjust systems. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring about these stories. Thank you for helping us recover and celebrate the heroes that history tried to erase. Maggie Lena Walker deserves to be remembered as one of the great American entrepreneurs and pioneers. She broke barriers that had never been broken before. She created institutions that served her community for generations. She proved that black excellence and women's excellence are not exceptions, but have always been present, waiting for opportunities to be recognized. Share her story, honor her legacy, and join me next time for another incredible story of black achievement. Until then, stay inspired, stay committed to equality and justice, and keep celebrating the heroes who changed our world. Peace.